I have read 47 books so far in 2023 as a full-time college student. So I'm like so impressed with myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, you just did that. To be fair, a lot of these books I have read since summer break has started, but still, that's quite a bit for only being around halfway through the year. So I'm going to be doing the mid-year book tag. I'm using the questions that Sarah Caroli used, and I will also put them in the description if you would like to see all of the questions. For some of these prompts/questions, I can't necessarily just pick one book, so I might have a couple of answers to each thing. But let's just get started with the first one, which is the best book you have read in 2023. I reread my favorite book, so I actually don't know if that counts. So I do have another book lined up, but I reread Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid because the TV show came out, so I obviously had to reread it before I watched the show. And like, it still holds up. It's still my favorite book, but it was a reread. I originally read it this time last year, so I also will talk about another book. I feel like another book that is like one of my top tier books that I read this year is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. This world is like very toxic, and I understand it's not for everybody, but I absolutely love this world. It's high society London where there's like very toxic relationships, but it's high society London. They're like rich, and like I feel like you expect them to be toxic, and it's just, this series as a whole, top tier. Which brings me into the next little prompt, which is like the best sequel you've read this year. Okay, so this is Magnolia Parks 1, this is Daisy Hates 1, and then it goes into Magnolia Parks 2 and Daisy Hates 2, even though this is like the third and the fourth book in the series. These two books are incredible. These sequels are absolutely amazing. Once again, high society London, these rich people that have like such issues that like a normal gal like me obviously would not have, and then there's like gangs in here. I love these. They made me cry. I feel so emotionally attached to every character in these books. They're incredible. Another sequel that absolutely stole my heart is The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. This is the sequel to Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. This world just makes me so happy, and I love it. I love the characters, I love the vibes, I love everything about it, and then just the way this book ends is like completely crazy, but like this is such like a 5-star read. It is one of my favorites of the entire year. Like, I would even go to say, if we're not counting Daisy Jones and the Six, it might be my favorite book of the year, but it is a sequel, so that's kind of why I didn't put it in the first prompt. It's very much fairy tale-esque. If you're not familiar with like this or the Caraval world, it's a YA romantasy. We have the Prince of Hearts, Jax, who is the male main character, and just the fact that he's the Prince of Hearts is so cool, and it reads very much like an old like childhood Disney fairy tale, and I love it. I really love it. But it's YA book series. Oh, it's incredible. The next thing is a new release you haven't read yet but want to. For me, that is Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. I have read both of her novels, The Love Hypothesis and Love on the Brain, and I thoroughly enjoyed both of these. I'm really excited to pick up her third book, Love Theoretically. It just came out like this past week, and I believe it follows very similar like themes as her first two books. So we'll see. A lot of people like don't like that like Love on the Brain was very similar to The Love Hypothesis, and I have a feeling that this is probably also very similar, but I liked both of them. It is a rom-com of like women and men and STEM. I think Ali Hazelwood is a woman and STEM, so that's what her books are centered around, is STEM. Okay, the next one is favorite new author. It could be new to you or you like just read their debut book. I think I'm gonna go for the new to me. And I think I'm gonna go with like Krista and Becca Ritchie. Okay, to be fair, like literally this might be fake of me. I've only read the first book, but I have the first 5, and just this series, it's new to me, but even after reading the first book, I'm attached to every single character in these books. All of them. All of them, all of them, all of them. I cannot wait to read more of the Addicted Calloway Sisters series. It's just incredible. I also am making my way through Stephanie Garber's books. And I've read 4 of the 5 books Stephanie Garber has put out. Next is newest fictional crushes. Here's the thing, I simp for a lot of the boys I read about. There's so many good options. But I think if we're going for just like a plain romance book, I really liked Mr. Nathan Hawkins. I don't know. I read this at the beginning of the year, and for a lot of people don't like this book, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. It is a hockey romance where she is the grumpy and he is the sunshine, and it was my very first sports romance that I read, and I really liked it. I really liked Nate in this book. I thought he was just so like golden retriever, like, oh my gosh, loved it. Also, Jax, I love Jax, but I think he's a little more unattainable than Nate is, because, you know, he's like a fate. Also, in A Court of Mist and Fury, we are introduced to Azriel. And I do have to say, Azriel's my favorite bad boy. He is mine. I don't know, something about Azriel, just mwah, chef's kiss. He is mine. Yeah, I did read ACOTAR this year. Oh, and I have to mention this series again. I feel like I'm mentioning some of the same books over and over again, but that's because these are my 5-star reads. And what I've also noticed this year, I have not read very many standalones. I am like only reading series this year, which is fairly odd, because last year I mostly just read standalones and I barely read any series, but now I'm just going series after series after series. Anyway, I'm just gonna say this, literally every man in here. I love them so much, whether it be BJ, Julian, Christian, all of them. They're all mine. I read Terms and Conditions, and I read The Final Offer this year, and Declan and Cal specifically. I feel like I liked. I might have liked Declan more than Callahan. I don't know. I loved both of these also, and I think this is a great trilogy. But I read the 2nd and 3rd this year. Oh, there's just so many good options out there, from gang lords to fates to hockey players to billionaires. Okay, next is books that make you cry. So here's the thing. I'm a very emotional person and have cried reading so many books. It's not even funny. I'm constantly crying reading books. So I cried reading these, Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home and Daisy Hates the Great Undoing. Sobbed, bawled my eyes out. I sobbed reading Addicted to You. If you want to see me crying over this book, link in the description. I read it when I was reading 200 pages each day for a week. And I bawled my eyes out reading this book, which I also filmed. So if you want to see that, link in the description. Is my ACOTAR reading vlog. But I feel like I cried the most reading this, or I feel like these two were the ones that made me cry the absolute most. So we're gonna focus in on these two. This is the 3rd book in the ACOTAR series, which is a romantasy. The first book is like a little reimagining or retelling. I don't know the difference between those. of Beauty and the Beast, and then it sort of goes out of that going into the second, third, fourth, fifth books, I believe. I haven't read the fifth one. But this one specifically is very slow. It's very slow, but then, of course, the last 100 pages of Sarah J. Maas books are, like, filled to the brim with action, and they killed me. They actually, like, I died. Reading this, I died. It was very emotional, and I'm a crybaby, so. Next is a book that made you happy. I think I've narrowed it down. I'm only going to choose one book for this, and it's actually not a 5-star read. But when I read When in Rome by Sarah Adams, I just, like, had a smile on my face the whole entire time. This is such a cute rom-com. And, like, for real, the whole entire time I was just, like, smiling because it's so cute. Our female main character, Amelia Rose, is a pop star, and she, you know, has a little something going on with small town boy Noah Walker. This is just, it's such a cute romance. And yeah, for real, the whole entire time I was just, like, so happy reading it. It didn't make me cry. Did it make me cry? I don't think so. No, I didn't cry. Did I? I might have cried. I don't think I did. I might have. I don't know. It was so good though. The most beautiful book you bought so far this year. So this isn't even like I didn't have to read it. I would have to say, I think Once Upon a Broken Heart. I love this cover. This is actually the UK cover though. But I think it's, like, really pretty, and got it this year. I also absolutely adore the covers of the Magnolia Parks series. Now that I think about it, I might have gotten this last year, for, like, around Christmas time. I think I got this book for Christmas. But these books, they're so pretty, and there's so much going on in each cover. But I think these books are incredibly beautiful. I like being seen with these books because, like, I feel like people look at them and they're like, oh, like, what's that about? Like, those are such interesting covers. Forgot about this book. Say You Swear. I actually didn't really like this book, which is a hot take because I know people love this book. But I think the cover's really pretty. Like, oh, personally, get it. Next is what books do I need to read by the end of the year? Obviously, I would like to finish all of the series that I am currently reading. I'm also about to start a new series. Anyway, I need to finish this series before the end of the year. I've had A Court of Silver Flames just, like, sitting on my shelf for a while now, and I think I need to finally read it because, like, I haven't done that. I have also had A Good Girl's Guide to Murder on my shelf for quite a while now. I made a short film based off of this book without reading it. And, like, I still haven't read it. And now, like, they just, like, announced who's playing, is it Pip and whoever the male main character is. They just, like, announced the cast and everyone's, like, really thrilled about it. They think that they match perfectly with the characters in the books, but I haven't read the books. It's kind of crazy to me that I made a whole short film based off of just the cover of the book, and I haven't read it. So I do really want to read this by the end of the year, and I'll get to it. I'll get to it eventually because it's thin, so it's not as scary. I feel like I've been putting this book off because it's 750 pages long. This is the longest book I have ever read, sitting at 700 pages. And it took me so long to get through that book. So, like, this is just, it's scary. It's really scary, but I want to get through it. Anyway, that was the last question, or last prompt for the mid-year book tag. Thank you very much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Bye!